This is Carol from the Society of Thoracic Surgeons. This is the Adult Cardiac Surgery Database webinar for June 3rd. This is our monthly didactic educational type webinar that we'll be doing. And on the line with me today, I have Melinda, who you can see she did her hair today, so she's on camera. Thanks, Melinda, for joining us. Very nice. We have Melanie Bent from Iqvia and the rest of the STS team, Jane Hahn, Leanne Jones, Emily Conrad, Addie Dolan, and then from Iqvia we have support teams from Joe Brower, Michelle Choi, and Jean Lysick. So we're going to get started here. Thank you for joining. I hope everybody's doing well and staying safe in these really uncertain times. And the quick agenda run through, we'll do some housekeeping, updates from STS. We have a what's in, what's out. Melinda and the core group had come together and has developed a inclusion document that we can use for guidance. It's not an inclusive inclusion document, but we'll go through that and it will be posted online on the website shortly here. And I'm excited that we're able to provide that to you all. And then we'll have an update from Melanie Bent and the Iqvia team with current updates, and then it'll be time for questions and answers. And we'll also hear from Emily Conrad with an AQO update. So quick housekeeping for version 4.20, the data spec update. We have had one vendor so far that I know of. We may have had more that has submitted for certification. They're in that process now. And I anticipate that we'll be getting more in the next week or two. More vendors submitting for certification for the data specifications. The next step is that they'll need to get certified on the risk model, and that will probably be, we're finishing up some work with the DCRI on working on the procedure identification chart related to the changes from 4.20, and then we will have those documents sent out to the vendors for risk model certification. The risk models from version 2.9 to version 4.20 have not changed, but because of the changes within version 4.2 related to mapping, there's some small minor changes that need to get done with the PROC ID to make sure that everything is mapped correctly. The next update is the version 4.20 training manual update. Melinda and the core group did an awesome job getting that over before the end of May. I'm going through and adding in some links and removing some, just doing a little bit of cleanup. It looks really great. Mainly just doing links and waiting for one document I sent over to marketing a few hours ago to get posted to the website that I'll need to link to in the training manual. I anticipate that we'll have that up probably no later than Friday. I would think either hopefully tomorrow, but no later than Friday. The version 4.20 training manual will be posted. Melinda will be working on the surgeon worksheets, and those should be done definitely in time for go live. The June training manual has been updated for version 2.9, and then we're going to give an update from Emily. And then I also wanted to talk about the patient website, and I'm not sure if we have time, I'll go more into this. I wanted to share a resource that I'm not sure that many people know exists, which is the STS patient website. It's a great resource for patients to learn about cardiac surgery. Frequently asked questions are there, great demonstration, anatomical demonstrations for easy to understand for patients. So if we have time towards the end, I'll be happy to do a quick walkthrough. Otherwise, I'm going to spend a little bit of time on it, probably on the user group call, just so everybody can see that is a resource that perhaps your surgeons don't know or your other clinical staff don't know when they're seeing the patients, to share that with them as a tool to prepare the patient for surgery. Not just for surgery, but there's information regarding intraoperative care and the intraoperative period, and then postoperative care, discharge information, and things like that. Important dates for adult cardiac. Today is our adult monthly webinar, and then we start our new data manager series. Session 1 is tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central. Session 2 is next Thursday, June 11th at 2 p.m. Central. I highly recommend if you're a new data manager who has been abstracting for less than 2 years to please join these sessions. They will be recorded. Melinda will be hosting. It's a great place to be able to ask questions and get really good information about things that we're not covering here, maybe things that are more operational for the database. The next user group call is June 17th at 2 p.m. Central. The next the spec upgrade call is at 2 p.m. on the 25th. We'll start with the Aorta section. Version 4.20.2 goes live on July 1st, and we will have direct data entry available with Iqvia for those sites that are interested in participating in direct data entry. And then Harvest 3, which will include dates through June 30th, will close on August 21st. We didn't have a close for Harvest 2 because of things that were going on with COVID, and it just wasn't, didn't feel right for people who were maybe working remotely, or definite changes in staffing, or sites with staffing changes to have to feel the pressure of a Harvest close. So we combined Harvest 2 and 3, and that will include OR dates through June 30th, 2020, and that again closes on August 21st. So this is the section I'm going to go over, the what's in and what's out. These are the cases that are to be submitted to the adult cardiac surgery database. This will be posted in a PDF format under version 2.9 and under version 4.20 under additional resources on the STS ACSD webpage. This is not an inclusive list, so if you don't see something on here, it's always best to email the clinical box so Melinda can respond to you. If she needs to refer to the surgeons for their guidance, she can do that as well. So we'll just go through this. These are cases that if you have that are to be submitted to the adult cardiac surgery database, they have to be, in order for cases to be submitted, they have to be performed by your CV surgeon that is on your participation agreement for the STS adult cardiac surgery. Cabbages, valves, all of your aortic, mitral, tricuspid, pulmonic, and then also for the valve section, we want, if they had if they're doing a prosthetic valve repair, those also get captured in the valve section, and those are required. Any aorta procedure that's performed proximal to the diaphragm, I'll show you a picture of that. We have aorta arch, ascending, descending root, thoracoabdominal. So these are, thoracoabdominal are the ones that get a little bit confusing. If any portion of the thoracoabdominal is above the diaphragm, or where the aorta crosses over the diaphragm, then you would include that. TEVAR procedures and valve sparing. Here's a couple diagrams. This is the aorta. You have your head vessels here, your off of the arch. This is the distal section. And you can see here, this is where the diaphragm crosses, where the aorta crosses through the diaphragm. I think it's actually kind of behind it there. And it is proximal to the splenic and hepatic artery. So if any of the procedure, even if it involves the distal portion of the, even if it involves the distal portion or the the abdominal aorta, which is the section below the diaphragm, if any of it, the procedure extends above the diaphragm, then it needs to be included in the STS database for adult cardiac. This is another picture of the ascending. It kind of points out, and then we have the suprarenal aortic, abdominal aorta, which is just above the renal arteries. Again, if any of that crosses over above the diaphragm, it needs to get included in the adult cardiac surgery database. Procedures performed on the heart, aorta, pulmonary arteries, or veins, and or the intrathoracic inferior superior vena cava. So again, these are kind of these oftentimes can be done alone, or sometimes they're combined with any of the other required procedures. Again, I'm not going to read through this list, but it will be posted up on the STS website underneath version 4.20 and version 2.9. AFib cases done by a cardiothoracic surgeon. Again, the surgeon has to be on your participant agreement with STS, mazes, pulmonary vein isolations, left atrial appendage clips, ablations, catheter atrial fibrillation convergent procedures, etc. And then ICD pacemaker lead extractions are required to be entered into the STS database. Insertions are not. Extractions are required. VAD in conjunction with the CV surgery. And we'll talk more about this in just one second. And then concomitant procedures, so any combination that includes a procedure that's on the required list. So example, cab valve, aorta valve, valve maze. And then we get into these impellas and VADs. If this is, I'll show you on the next screen, but if it's a cab and the impella is performed anytime during the stay, it should be captured on the data collection form. We'll provide clear guidance in the training manual. So you would capture this if it was a cab and the patient entered the OR with an impella, that would be captured as a preoperative impella timing. If the impella was removed before surgery, you would not capture that. We'll provide very clear guidance in the training manual, but I just wanted to provide a list of non-inclusive, again, examples, but please refer to the training manual. And if you are unsure of anything or how it gets entered, then you'll need to submit it to the FAQ mailbox so we can provide you clear guidance. Again, the AVR, aorta, and then a VAD performed during the same stay. Refer to the training manual for the very clear guidance. This is just a PowerPoint, a PowerPoint presentation. I can't provide a very long explanation here, but my suggestion is and recommendation is that you go to the training manual to see the VADs. If they're inserted preoperatively, the patient enters the OR with them, you would capture that in the VAD section. We'll go through that in more detail on another webinar, another didactic webinar. Again, refer to the training manual for clear guidance on that and reach out if you have any questions. Optional cases, this is if a required case. The cases that we just went through are not performed during the same stay. If the only thing the patient had is an ECMO or impella or a VAD, any of these on this list, they are not required to be entered into the STS database. If they had heart or lung transplants, they should be going into the transplant registry with the UNOS. They should be entered there. You can double enter these cases. You can enter them into UNOS and into the STS adult cardiac database. They are not required to be entered into the STS database. A pericardial windows pacemaker, ICD insertions, lead insertions are not required. TAVR, TMVRs, mitral clips are not required. Again, if it's up to your surgeon and your quality department, if they want all of your cardiac surgery cases entered into the database, you certainly can enter them. These are cases that if they are not done in conjunction with any other case that we collect are not required. They have to be, in order to enter any case into the STS database, it has to be performed by a surgeon that's listed on your participant agreement. Okay, and then what's on the horizon coming from STS? We have a couple things coming from our risk model team, from our quality metrics task force. We have a 3-year composite, which is going to replace the 1-year composite. This is kind of what your star rating is based off of. It will likely be used for public reporting, but not until 2021. This is just something that's going to be coming soon to your quarterly reports. We will run it for a short time frame in your quarterly reports, just so you can get used to seeing it. It will replace the 1-year composite. The confidence intervals will be changed from, currently we use 98% confidence intervals for cabbage. We will widen those confidence intervals to 95%. And we'll be providing more information, but I just want to give you a heads up that was coming. And then also a multi-procedural composite will be out soon, which is will be multi-valve procedures. And that would be like if you did double valves or triple valve procedures, that's where that would be included. It will be weighted, so sites that are mitral sites or sites that are aortic valve sites will be compared more closely to their like sites. We're not going to be comparing, heavy mitral sites to heavy aortic sites and show the difference in outcomes between those sites. That wouldn't really be comparing apples to apples. So they will be weighted comparisons. More information will be provided out on these, but I just want to give you a heads up that these are 2 new composites that are in the works in our quality metrics task force. Now I'm going to hand it over to Jane Hahn, who is our Associate Director for the STS quality team. And Jane, are you there?
I'm here. Can you hear me, Carol?
Yes, Jane. Hi.
Hi. Great. Thank you. Hi, everyone, and thanks, Carol. We just wanted to give you a brief update regarding direct data entry. We realized that this is we announced that this would be available this summer, earlier in the year, and we have some more details to provide to you, which I appreciate, Carol, for giving me this opportunity here. So active development and planning for this offering is underway. Direct data entry is also called Web UI, so you'll probably see it referred to in using both terms. As scheduled previously, we anticipate it will be ready on July 1st for adult cardiac surgery database participants who are interested. There is no additional cost to use the direct data entry option as long as the database participant is up to date on their participation fee payments to STS. So I know there have been some questions out there. Is it really free? It is truly available at no additional cost to the participant outside of or in addition to the participation fees that you already submit. We realize that the transition may be a bit confusing, so we've decided at STS to assign a small team of STS staff to help provide assistance to all participants, existing participants who are interested in transitioning from a vendor-based model to direct data entry participation. So my team and I will be helping you with that, and we'll be providing a walkthrough of what all the transition will look like and the various paperwork and other items that you may need to submit to make that transition effective. Please note a new participation agreement will not be required, so that I think will help in the transition as well. As stated, we're actively developing and planning currently, and this is about all we have to share right now. But we'll be sure to provide updates to participants as soon as updates are available. If your participation ID is interested in transitioning over to the direct data entry offering, please email us at stsdb@sts.org. We have a list of participants going, and we'll be sending updates to that list accordingly.
Great, thanks, Jane. That's helpful.
Thanks,
It's exciting to be getting there. Thank you. All right, now I'm going to hand it over to Emily Conrad. Emily, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, can hear you. So Emily's going to give us Emily is our senior coordinator for the STS National Database. She has been part of the AQO planning, doing most of all of the planning for many years on AQO, and she's going to give us an update on the 2020 AQO.
Yeah, thank you. So 2020 is going to look a little different. If you haven't already heard, we're going virtual this year, like many other meetings out there. So we're in new territory, but I think it's going to be great. It's a very good opportunity to provide content to you during these, unprecedented times. So first thing that I wanted to bring up, we've had a couple planning calls with our adult cardiac planning committee. These are some tentative topics that we have discussed. We're definitely going to be covering the version upgrade. So any key areas, if you have any FAQs, keep submitting those so that we can take a look at them in the mailbox and possibly discuss them at AQO. Also, some other topics listed here that maybe hasn't been covered in previous years, sternal wound infections, chronic lung disease. There's going to be a dashboard presentation from some of our data managers, how they use it. And then also, the major areas like aorta, aortic cases, mitral valve, and so on. As for our registration pricing, and then when it will open, that is still to be determined, we have selected a platform that's going to host our meeting. We're still in, contracting. So once that gets finalized, which should be very shortly, we will be posting the registration information on our website, and then you'll also probably receive an email. As for abstract submission, that is also coming. So if you have any type of quality improvement project that you would like to submit as an abstract to be a e-poster, we would love for you to share your information. That will be coming as well. So just, be checking for those updates soon.
And
yeah, so, if you don't already know, the adult cardiac information will be on Thursday. If you would like to also, listen in on any of the others, Intermax and PediMax will be on Tuesday, General Thoracic Wednesday, and Congenital will be on Friday. So each database has their own day. We have a QR code here. If you, want to scan that, it'll take you right to our website so that you can see additional information for AQO. And then we have an announcement for 2021. We know where we will be going, hopefully, and it will be in Denver, Colorado. So I think that is maybe the first time we've ever gone to Denver for AQO, and I'm really excited. I've never been.
Yay! Yeah, I wish I had the share button. I would hit the share button so we could have some sharing going on. This is exciting. I think Denver, hopefully we're all able to join together in person in Denver.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, thanks for the update, Emily. That's wonderful. Thank you.
No problem. Yeah.
Great. All right, and now I'm going to hand it over to Melanie Bent. Melanie is the senior business analyst at Iqvia. And Melanie, are you there?
I'm here. Hi, Carol.
Hi.
All right, and hello, everyone. Let's talk about the recent updates that happened on the platform. Again, this information was also posted within the platform under the notification section. So this is a recap of that information. We did have a product version update. So what that means is the actual platform version was updated from an older version to a more recent version, which is the 1.28. So again, nothing that you would have seen changes within on the front end.
Sorry, hold on.
It's okay. There we go. We're back.
I'm gonna pull this over. I accidentally had that on the wrong screen. Sorry about that. Okay,
no
sorry.
problem. It's okay. We're back. So that platform update, you will not see any visual changes with that, but those are updates that were done over the weekend. In regard to specific adult cardiac updates and fixes, I do have those listed here. There were updates related to the missing variable report where we had specific items. In this case, it was the discharge mortality stat was displaying on the report where the reporting period was only selected for where we would have only collected 2.81 variables. So that variable for some reason wanted to appear during that time frame, so that has been corrected. Also, we had a specific error that displayed on the data quality report that was for the missing discharge date while patient was still in the hospital. That was also updated. And then we do have other updates related to specific validation changes and corrections. So those are listed here. I also wanted to call out that we did update the description for and it should have been temp, T-E-M-P, sorry, I missed that there. Should be the temp code field and also temp date field that were related to the COVID-19 update. So it's just a description. So the variable was already there. We were already able to accept that into the database. So if you were passing that, that information would of course be accepted into the database. But when you look on the case form and see the actual field, you will see that it has a description related to the COVID specific requirements. So just wanted to call that out also. Other updates that I don't currently have on the screen, Jane did cover that we are working on, of course, the development around the direct data entry, and we're excited about that with, of course, the launch date being the July 1st. So that is also ongoing. And also I wanted to raise that we are still working with DCRI in regards to the risk or the harvest report for the Harvest 1 data that was submitted. So that is still with DCRI. And once we have that data back from DCRI, we of course will be able to show that within the platform. We're currently in development also, of course, on those reports, the frameworks for those reports. So just know that that is in progress. Lots of activity that's happening on the Iqvia side. And of course, once we are closer to delivery of those, we will be providing more information and training around that. We can go to the next slide, but I think that is it in regards to the updates.
Yep.
We have the support plan, which I'm sure everyone is familiar with at this time, but we just want to make sure that you are aware.
Yep, thanks, Melanie. Thanks, great update. So this is Carol. The support plan, again, if you have any issues with your Iqvia platform, please email ststechsupport@iqvia.com. If there is a vendor issue or you know that the issue is related to your vendor software specifically and does not have to do with the Iqvia platform, please reach out to your vendor first. If you are unsure or you're pretty certain it's the Iqvia platform or just not 100% positive, you can still reach out to ststechsupport@iqvia.com, and that message will eventually get farmed over to your vendor. It may just take a while to get there. So we have this tier 1 can handle things like passwords, and if you get locked out of your account, very basic types of questions with almost immediate or within 24-hour type of response. If it's something that needs to get elevated, it'll either go over to tier 2 or to STS. Tier 2 can take a few days to respond, but you will get notification that it's been escalated to tier 2, and STS will respond pretty quickly, usually within 24 to 48 hours. You'll get a response from either myself or somebody on our team at STS. And then if it's necessary to go over to DCRI, if it's an analytical question that is way beyond our knowledge of how the analytics work or the risk models work, we will send it over to DCRI, which could take a few days for a response. Again, the STS National Database webpage is the sts.org, and then registries and research, it will take you over to the STS National Database page. And there's my contact information. And I think it's going to be time to go to questions and answers.
And Carol, before we do that, I forgot one item that I wanted to raise. I didn't have it on the slide. And I'm not sure if Deb is on. Deb is a user that actually raised an issue that she encountered, and I wanted to also bring this up just in case others may have encountered and probably has already reached out to our support team. We did notice that so far we had 2 users that I am aware of, and I'm going to count myself in that also because I experienced it also on my machine, where you log in and the uploader interface was showing the loading animation, and it did not show the option to upload the actual file. So I did want to raise that. If you are experiencing that, please go ahead and contact our support team to notify them. We are looking at that issue. So we do have, we identified a fix in which I was able to fix my machine, but I think there may be different flavors of this, and we do need to be able to work with the users to identify what's occurring. So just wanted to call that out. And if you do have that issue, just know that and if you've logged a ticket, that we'll be in touch with you to get that issue resolved.
Great. And again, to log a ticket, you're going to email ststechsupport@iqvia.com. Not C-Crone.
Not C-Crone. That would be the STS tech support at Iqvia, or the phone number. We do have the phone number also.
Whatever will work too.
But not C-Crone.
Not see Chrome, no. Okay, all right, thank you. Let's go to the questions and see if we can get through some of these. Let me make sure. Use the Q&A function. Please submit your questions there. We'll get through as many as we can. I thought I had another slide, but I guess not. And I will go back to the date slide because that's pretty helpful to look at. All right, first question. For COVID coding, if a test is done and it is negative, should we code the date of the test or do we only code the date of positives? If the patient had no testing, can we leave the field blank since blank equals no? It can be challenging to remind ourselves to code the temp field when a patient record mentions no mention of COVID. For your first part of the question, only code the dates of positive PCR testing. That's the RNA test that's done usually, I believe, nasal swab and, or swabbing right now is the way that they're doing the PCR testing. That's the only approved testing, so that would be the only way to code yes to those is that they would have to have that form of testing, some type of swab that they're doing, and that test has to be positive. Only code the date for those tests that are positive. And if you leave the field blank, it will default to no or to the lowest risk. It's best if you can answer no for certain, so we don't have to guess that those cases are missing, that we don't know if that we don't know that it was just accidentally skipped and the patient actually was COVID positive, it just wasn't captured. So it's really helpful if you do not leave it blank, but if you do leave it blank, it will default to no. Next question, when will the version 4.20 surgeon worksheets be available? They should be available prior to go live, prior to July 1st. Melinda's gonna start working on those within the next few days here. She just got done with the training manual. Next question, what is the difference between monthly webinars and user group calls? Monthly webinars are meant to be didactic. So although right now they've been mainly focused on the transition to Iqvia, it's been really education based, trying to inform you and educate you on either new features in Iqvia, or like today we went over the inclusion list. We've done other things in the past like the PROC ID risk model variable chart. So the monthly webinars are mainly meant to be educational. The user group calls are intended more of a networking or share your experiences with each other. If you're having questions related to the platform, we can take those there. We can take any types of questions, trying to stay away from more of the clinical questions on the user group calls, but mainly the user group calls are intended to bring users together and share experiences and different types of solutions that you may have experienced or somebody else may have experienced to help each other along. Next question, please clarify when pericardiocentesis pericardial window is included in the ACSD. If those procedures are done in conjunction with another procedure that was on the required list, that's when you can enter those. However, you're certainly welcome to enter those into the registry if you'd like, if they're done as standalone procedures during this day. Are we entering standalone TVARs as primary procedures as just as previous procedures done? And Melinda, you might want to just confirm, but these are to be entered as primary procedures.
Yes, and also if the CT surgeon and the vascular surgeon are working together, they're still supposed to be entered as procedures.
Yeah, that's correct. If the CV surgeon's on your participant agreement form for the adult cardiac, for STS adult cardiac, it needs to be entered even if there was an assisting surgeon or proceduralist, like a interventional cardiologist, also doing the procedure with that surgeon. Great point. What if you have a heart transplant and ASD? Is this reportable to STS?
Well, my first question is, they did an ASD repair on the new heart, or was the ASD repair? I just need more information, because I mean, if ASDs are reportable, heart transplants are optional. We kind of just need to know the order of what happened here.
Yeah, and so this is a great example of if you have these types of questions, that they would get submitted into the clinical question, the clinical FAQ mailbox, so we can investigate with you further to make sure we have the complete story before providing you an answer. Next question. Oh, this is the same, something you just answered, Melinda. So if a procedure is performed by a participating surgeon and a vascular doctor, or we could even in here an interventional cardiologist, does it get entered? In the future, will there be any way to account for another doctor being engaged in the surgery? No. If your cardiac surgeon is part of that procedure and they're on the STS participant agreement form, it's to be entered into the STS database.
And the other thing, and to know, enter the entire procedure. I mean, just don't enter what the CV surgeon does.
Yeah, let's say for example, they're doing a carotid in a cab, and the vascular surgeon's doing the carotid and the cardiac surgeon's doing the cab. The vascular surgeon performs the carotid first. They're in the same OR. They're not going to move rooms and all that stuff. You would use the time from the start of the procedure, from when the patient, OR entry time would be the time the patient rolled through the door. The incision time would be the first incision on that patient. So that would be the neck incision for the carotid. And then your closure time would be when the final second part of that procedure. If it was a cab, then you would use those times. It would go underneath the whole procedure, the carotid procedure and the cab would get captured underneath one data collection form. It goes on the same, we only ever use one data collection form per hospital stay. So it would go under both the carotid and the cab would get captured on that data collection form, all underneath the participating surgeon. And you use the times from the start of the very first incision to the end of the procedure. Anything to add, or Melinda, did I get that okay?
No, I think you did cover that great.
Okay, thanks. With direct data entry, is general thoracic included as well? If not, when will that happen? Thank you. So general thoracic is also expected to go live, I believe, July 1st. Melanie, is that still the plan for that?
Yes, July 1st.
Great, thank you. Next question for Melanie. Can we export or query our data if we choose to do direct data entry?
Okay, so the export feature that we would have, that is going to be role dependent to be able to export data out of the system. In regards to querying the data, no, direct data and users will not have the capability to query. And I believe that's an option within within software vendor systems, but that will not be an option for direct data entry.
Great, thank you.
This is Jane, could I add a couple comments to that, Carol, if you don't mind?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
So just as an FYI to participants considering direct data entry, we'll have 2 new roles available to which we can assign data managers. It's called primary and backup data entry contacts. And the primary will be the one who'll be able to perform a complete data download. So as you consider, if you are considering direct data entry, you'll need to carefully think about to whom that role should be assigned. Backups will not have that option available to them.
That's really helpful. Thank you, Jane.
Sure.
One person will have the ability to download data. The other role, the backup role, will not. So I think that's really important. And I think when they reach out to you, Jane, at the STSDB at sts.org, they will be able to, you'll walk them through that, and somebody, you or somebody on the team will be able to explain when they choose that, how the roles are assigned and who should hold those.
Yes.
Roles. Okay.
Yes, we'll be working with each participant individually and walking you through that transition process, and be sure to educate you along the way.
Awesome, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next question, how is the report capability with direct data entry? So I think we just covered that, did we?
Well, if it's because I know that I've gotten questions in regards to kind of similar reports that are in their current software vendor systems. So we are not, I think we've had questions in regards to being able to build their own custom reports. That functionality would not be available. Another question, so basically the base reports of what you see now, for example, so the dashboard, the missing variable, the data quality, there are some future reports that are coming up, but I know that a a lot of other software vendors may have that availability for the custom reports and more robust reporting. So just know that when you take that in consideration in regards to making that decision, a lot of the customization that you have with the software vendors, we for launch would not have that available. So just wanted to, because I do get that question a lot. So hopefully that clarifies that.
Great, and I just want to add on to that. This is different than your benchmarked reports, different than your quarterly reports, which are due out. I'm actually going to, this is kind of combining the next three questions. The quarterly report is due out. Hopefully we have it sometime in June. If not, it should be, we're aiming to have it out in June. That will be your calendar year 2019 report, and that will be available on a benchmarked dashboard, on a risk-adjusted dashboard. And you'll be able to run reports on that, on your benchmarked data, which is not, that's not something your vendor software has because they don't get your analyzed data back from DCRI. They have the risk models built in, but it's not the true analyzed data set. So this is different. The reports that are available within, or the reporting that folks are talking about regarding direct data entry would be on their raw data and the unadjusted raw data. Is that correct, Melanie? Do you think that's a good?
Yeah, because I mean that of course clarifies the differences of the availability of what they would be able to see. But I know that a lot of the general questions have been in regards to that customization, being able to go in and create their own reports. So I just do want to just make sure I clarify that ability would not be there to go in and create your own reports. We have the standard reports that have been approved by STS that would be available to, of course, all the users that have access to the reports.
Awesome, thank you. Next question, can we have a presentation on collecting shock? So yeah, we can definitely talk about shock in one of the future webinars, probably not until after summertime because we have a couple things going on with Iqvia, but we can definitely talk about that. And I also think this is going to be covered in the AQO, collecting data on the on deteriorating patient. This may be something that we cover in that session as well. So we're planning, we don't want to duplicate information for folks who, and we also want to make AQO a very valuable resource for people who decide to attend. So I'm trying not to duplicate information. So I'll see what's in the monthly webinar. So I'll see what's covered in AQO, and then we can always do a deeper dive during the monthly webinars. I definitely want to make sure that what you're paying for AQO is definitely something that we're not duplicating in the webinars. Next question, I just uploaded in Iqvia and my re-upload was confusing. It divided up the records. Yep, so I think that's a common, that's one of the upgrades that came out last month, where you're only seeing the numerator or the denominator are the records that had changes made within that upload file.
Yes, that sounds like that's what's happening. So basically, if there were no changes when you uploaded that file again, it is only going to read through to determine if there's any updates, any new records. If the record is already identified in the database and there's no changes, that is not going to be included in your count. So if that's what you're seeing, I believe is that Pat? Maybe, yeah. I think I remember Pat. If that's what I think that's what you're seeing. If you feel that that's not what it is, please reach out to our support team and they can make sure that they are able to look at that with you.
Wonderful, thank you, Melanie. I want to pull this slide up just so it's there. Okay, did that one? Okay, is mortality dashboard fixed that a patient is an operative mortality if still in the hospital after 30 days and died? Example.
Yeah, 30 seconds. I believe that one is still open, but will be included in we have another set of fixes that are going to be targeted for June. I do believe that that one looks familiar to me. I think that that is one that would be included in June updates, but I will double check. But it does look familiar to me at the moment.
Great, thank you. All right, next question. There was an error on the DQR for missing discharge date for patients in-house. However, I would like to propose going back to putting DC dates on all patients. It changed to blank if died in hospital. Every time I pull data, which is my main job, I have to fill in these missing DC dates to calculate length of stay. Well, hopefully it's not too many dead patients, Tina. As time goes on, you can imagine how much extra work this is just to do recalculation length of stay for every single data pull. It sounds like when a patient dies, and this is, when the patient dies, the DC date shouldn't be populating because the DC date automatically populates with the, maybe I'm getting this screwed up. Is it the mortality date that auto-populates with the DC date, or the DC date automatically populates with the mortality date? Do you know what she's talking, do you know what Tina's talking about here? Let me pull up the data collection form. Hold on. Before I get us all confused, we go down that confused road together. Sorry, everybody. Let me pull this open and we can walk through it together to see what where the issue's coming in at. Because I think it's what I'm thinking is it's the way that the parent-child relationships are filled out.
That's what I think too.
Yeah, and I don't think that that date populates would never. It shouldn't even be open in your vendor software if I'm thinking correctly. Sorry for the scrolling. Okay. So here is the discharge mortality date. So you enter the date of last follow-up, right? You get down to mortality status. If the patient died in hospital, the discharge date shouldn't even populate, shouldn't even open up, because that date is actually going to be the same as the mortality date. So what happens is the this auto-populates, this discharge date auto-populates on the back end. So you can't see that, and this shouldn't even be opening up in your vendor software. If it is, then there's an issue with your programming on your vendor software, which has gone through certification, and I would reach out to your vendor. To get the length of stay for patients who expired in the hospital, you need to look at the date of admit and the mortality date. Do you have anything to add to that, Melinda?
No.
Okay, thanks. Next question, our training orientation sessions for Iqvia. So we've started with training orientation for Iqvia since October. So you may want to go back and review some of those webinars that we have held since October, quite a few months. Also, we have resources on the STS education page for data managers under registries and research, and then the STS national database. If you scroll down on this page, you'll see that we have important resources here. So the Go Live checklist, the transition resource, data manager education. Under the transition resource, you'll find some additional, let's see if that's going to open for us. You'll find some additional videos that will help you under educational how-tos and a few other uploader instructions, the dashboard overview that will help you with the orientation and training to Iqvia. I'm not seeing the inclusive procedure list on the STS website that was discussed earlier. So I did send it over to marketing to be posted, and if it's not up yet, it will be up soon. But let me see if they got it posted. Hold on. Oh, it's there. So it's posted already. You might need to refresh your screen, but here it is, the case inclusion guide. It's posted under version 2.9, and then should be posted here under version 4.20. Please read all of the instructions that are listed on here just to help guide you in these procedures, in abstracting these cases. And if there's any questions, please submit an FAQ to the clinical mailbox. Next question, what does active page option mean when I choose to export to Excel in Iqvia? Thank you.
That is and I was just trying to go in to just quickly take a look, but that is the page that you're currently viewing. And so long as you have selected, so for example, if we're looking at the missing variable report, I'll use that one, and you have your results, so long as you have all of the items selected, your results selected, it is going to give you, the active page option is going to give you all of the results for that page that you're viewing. I think we've had instances where users, they didn't have the items, or maybe they had one cell selected on the missing variable report, and then when they did the export, it only exported just the results for that one variable. So just make sure that you're selecting all variables in that instance, and when you select active page, it's going to give you the results for everything that is on that page.
Great, thanks, Melanie. This is a good question. Do you know if we can test out the STS direct data entry before committing to it? I don't know that we've talked about this yet, but Jane and Melanie, Jeanette, maybe this, oh, Jeanette's not on. Maybe this is something that we can talk about. I don't know if that would be a big deal or not.
Yeah, we can definitely talk about it. Yeah.
Okay.
I agree.
All right, awesome. Well, we'll put it on the list to talk about it. But Cheryl, if you are interested, please email the STSDB@sts.org. And Jane will put your name on the list and help with any questions, and something we can definitely discuss. All right, this is a comment from Doug, and I don't remember what uploader issue we were talking about, but Doug says that he encountered the uploader issue and fixed it by rebooting his computer, which is Bill Gates' solution to any problem. Beat sending an error message and waiting for a reply. I love it.
Yeah, a lot of times that's usually what will resolve any issue, not just in regards to within the platform. Even in my Outlook, I'm like, okay, let's just restart this.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It's just try to reboot your computer
Yeah,
first.
a lot of times it solves, especially, you know what, that's a good call out, Doug. It's just, especially when you have updates that may have been applied, right, to the computer, if there's any security updates or patches that have been pushed, if you have those options that automatically download any kind of operating system updates, a lot of times rebooting is always required because sometimes it causes funny stuff to happen after even those types of updates.
Awesome, thank you. Next question. When harvesting files, do we have a choice to upload through Iqvia or our vendor? I know that some vendors do allow, they did for DCRI, Melanie. Do you know, do some vendors now auto connect to your uploader? Or did the sites have to go into, I think the sites have to go into their platform to upload.
The sites would need, and I think that would be something that we would have to talk to with STS, but right now, we for STS don't have like a direct connection. We have to have the users log in to do that submission, if that's what the question is. You
would want to do that anyway, just because it's such a quick process now with Iqvia. When you upload that, you get that data quality report back almost instantaneously. I think that's the right word. So I think you would want to log into Iqvia to do that, to see your report and to make sure that it went through okay, and just have immediate feedback. Next question. Yep, so surgeon worksheets at my facility have been added to the EMR, which includes initially working with IT development. The sooner STS can finalize these worksheets, the better. Yep, Melinda's working on it. We use CardioPulse, but I don't see the COVID question. Where should that be? So you should reach out to CardioPulse and ask them where that's at. It has to be, all of our versions are built with those temporary fields, that temp code and that temp date field. All versions have been built with those. I think all versions, definitely the last few versions have been built with those temp codes already in the data specifications, so it's definitely there. You might have to, they might have it in another spot, maybe called temp fields, or at the end of the data collection form. I'm not sure, I'm very familiar with Cardial Pulse software, so I suggest reaching out to your Cardial Pulse representative and asking where those fields are located. If our cardiac surgeon does an Icd-Lead extraction, do we include that in the adult cardiac and ICD registry? Yep. If it's a cardiac surgeon that is on your participant agreement for the ACSD, it should be entered into the STS registry. I'm not sure what gets entered into the ICD registry, so you would have to reach out to the NCDR. Does it, Linda?
Yeah, it'd be put in ICD also.
Okay, so it would get captured in both. The reason why it goes into the STS adult cardiac is because of the associated high risk with those procedures. Next question, if we perform a percutaneous PFO closure in the cath lab, does that have to be entered to the STS?
Well, my question is your cardiac surgeon doing it? That would be my first question.
Yeah. And if the cardiac surgeon is doing it, Melinda, and it is a percutaneous, even if it's done in the cath lab, I think that it still gets put in.
I think so, but we would just need to know more information about who's doing it and where, you know. Send it in, Cheryl. We can talk about it in the FAQs.
Great, thank you. Why are we entering Tabbies into the STS when they have their own registry? So again, TVT cases that go into the TVT registry are not required to be entered into the STS registry. They are optional cases for sites who choose to do double entry into the TVT registry and into the STS ACSD registry. They are definitely required for the TVT registry. They are not required for the STS registry. Some sites, again, choose to do the double data entry. Where do you put the assisting physicians? We do not collect data on assisting physicians, only the primary physicians. Our CV surgeon assists the EP doc with laser lead extractions. They take turns billing as the lead. Are these to be entered? If your surgeon is listed on, and this kind of goes, the other question I just said that we capture the primary. That's if you have your primary is the CV surgeon. If your CV surgeon who's on the STS participation agreement is the assisting surgeon and is part of this case, you should still be entering those cases into the STS registry if they're anywhere on that operative report. Why can't we use serology results in coding COVID, especially for cases with bad outcomes and tested positive for antibody? Because the antibody testing isn't what we're looking for. We're looking for active patients who are shedding the virus. They could have had COVID who knows when and still have antibody. That's not, we have a specific time frame as to when we're collecting that. So we have to have the PCR testing, the RNA testing. Many times there's a PFO closure done on the incoming transplanted heart and I include them as both.
That's good information. Thank you for providing that clarification.
And I think this is probably going to be our last one because we're at time. I've also experienced this issue with loading Chrome but not IE and Internet Explorer and have submitted a ticket. I also had validation alert failed on a file I previously submitted on 5.7 that had no alerts at that time. So Trish, I would just ask if you could please submit your comment in along with your ticket number if you want to reach, hold on one second here. If you wanted to reach back out to Iqvia at the STS tech support at Iqvia.com and send in an email to them and send your question over to them. And then one last one, just so we can end on a question that can help everybody. Have the June FAQs been posted? The training manual says it was updated for June, but I don't see any bookmarks and new questions in the FAQ binder. All right, let's just do this real quick to make sure.
Yeah, I looked at the binder. There is one. We only had one FAQ update.
There's only one FAQ update for June. So here's the binder. This is the June update. The May's are right underneath of it. And then for the training manual, sometimes the bookmarks don't show all the way up. I'm using Chrome. The bookmark tab is over here. All of the sections are bookmarked. And then if there's an update in the sequence number, that would also be bookmarked. And this is the update is here in red.
Yeah, it was just a typo from last month on the temporary code. So
Yep, that's it.
thanks. I can't remember who pointed that out to me, but thanks for doing that.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, thank you. Okay, I guess that's where we're going to end it at. Thanks everybody for joining. I hope you stay safe. If you're able to and you are looking for some more information about the database, and I would really appreciate, and I think it's going to be very useful to join the new Data Manager webinar that's tomorrow at 2 p.m. Central Time.
Yes, and the only thing, if you're planning on joining, have your PROC ID chart. No, that's next week. Never mind. Don't have your PROC ID chart available.
But have your STF.org open. Melinda's going to walk through some really great things.
Yeah.
It's really going to be an informative webinar for anybody who can join. I think everybody will gain something no matter how long you've been abstracting for. So if you're able to join, please do. We'd love to have you. All right. Thanks, everybody. I hope you have a great rest of the day and stay safe, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, Melinda.
Right.
Thanks, Melanie.
Bye, everybody.
Thanks, everybody from
Bye,
STF.
everyone.
Iqvia. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.